Hey guys, here Macy, the Bright Side Girl, and today I am doing my July wrap-up. Okay, true confession time. I have not read any mermaid books in July. I know I said I was doing mermaid marathon for June and July, but I ran out of time to do my TBR for July, my mermaid TBR, so I didn't do that, and then I didn't do my mermaid recommended reads, and then I just kind of felt like I needed a break, and there were so many books that I had purchased recently that I felt like I needed to read, and only one of them was a mermaid book that I actually owned and didn't rent from the library. And I feel like I can't rent any books from the library right now unless they are a continuation of a series, because I need to read the massive amount of books that I have. So I still had a good month. I think I read like 7 or 8 books, less than last month, and I read half of a mermaid book, but I'm not going to talk about that until I either decide to finish it or do not finish it, which is the DNF, but we'll get to that soon. Okay, so now for the actual wrap-up, let's get started. Okay, carrying on after June, I finished Always and Forever, Laura Jean by Jenny Han. This is a series of To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. It is my favorite contemporary right now. I absolutely loved it. The characters are so sweet. I think that I might have liked the second book more, which is a more of an unpopular opinion, but I did still love this one. You get to see Laura Jean when she's a little bit older, and the relationships have expanded and grown, and there's some conflict, but it's realistic, and it's kind of fun to read slash watch. And I do think they're making a movie out of at least the first book, which is kind of exciting. But if you guys want to hear more about this series, you can watch my June wrap-up. Then I read 4 of the series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. And I have collected these. I'm only missing 2 now, but I read the first 4, and these are like delicious little bites of cake. I just could not, like, I don't know, I just read them so quickly, and obviously they're really short, so you're gonna read them quickly, but even quicker than I anticipated, and they were just, they're so different in the writing on the back. They have notes from Lemony Snicket that involve the book. On the inside, they have dedications that are kind of tied into the books, and I just love them. The only reason I didn't keep going was because I don't have book number 6, so I want to wait until I find that before I read book number 5, because I know I want to just roll and roll and roll. But I love them. I love the kids. Count Olaf is hilarious. This has always been one of my favorite movies, and definitely one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies, the series of Unfortunate Events. So I was super excited to read these and then watch the show, but in my opinion, the show was very disappointing. I was very excited because of Neil Patrick Harris and Joan Cusack and some other people, and I feel like it's super slow, and I feel like his Count Olaf is not as good as Jim Carrey's, and it's not as relative to the books, and the emotional character development is not there, but the sets and everything are beautiful. My husband is torn because he really doesn't like the show, but he's really interested in the story, and he hasn't read these, and he also loved the movie, so we probably are going to keep watching the show, but it's really kind of hard to get through. So what do you guys think about the series of Unfortunate Events? I love the movie, so I'm curious to see if I'm the only one that's not a big fan of the show. Next up, I read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, my first Rainbow Rowell book, and I was so excited, and I was kind of, I knew I was either going to love this or not like it, which is how I kind of go into all contemporaries, because I have a very specific style that I don't like and do like. The beginning of this kind of threw me off because I was really used to Jenny Han's writing and her style of her characters, and I wasn't sure if I even liked Kath, the main character. If you guys aren't familiar with Fangirl, which I'm sure you are, Kath writes a fan fiction series based on something in this world called Simon Snow, which is reminiscent of Harry Potter, or at least how big the fandom was and all that. So she writes a fan series based on that world, and she's going to college for the first time, and she's kind of a bit of a hobbit in a way, where she kind of like stays in her little room and doesn't want to socialize, and it kind of gets forced upon her. But anyway, Rainbow includes, in the beginning of each chapter, she includes a little bit of either something from Simon Snow, which is adorable, or she includes some of Kath's fan fiction, just like a little paragraph right before the chapter starts. And it was kind of like reading 2 books at once, but in the best way possible. And it was so fun. And I can't wait to read Carry On, which is the fan fiction book that Kath writes. Rainbow actually wrote out the twisted story on it with all the magical beings and everything. And I'm really excited to read it because I really love this. The lead male character is so sweet. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I read it super fast, and I loved the fan fiction part. I just think that if you like reading young adult books that you're probably going to love this just because of that fan fiction aspect, but the characters are also super lovable as well. Okay, last up, I am super proud of myself. I read Matched by Ali Condi. I have read this before. I read this one, and I think I read half of the second book. And before we moved, I sold them because I was being super good and getting rid of a lot of things so that we would have room in our tiny apartment to live. But I feel like I got rid of this one too soon because I really enjoyed it, and I just love this cover. It's one of the reasons that I picked it up. So when I found this at one of my used bookstores for like $1, I got it, and I have Crossed as well. And I was like, let me give this a reread and see how I feel about it now that I've read some other really good books and other really good dystopians as well. And it took me a little bit to get back into it, I think because I already had read it, and it's a little bit more of a simple story than most dystopians. So I was like, well, I kind of already know what happens. But towards the end of it, I got really jazzed and back into it again. I remember the second book being incredibly boring. But again, I had this phase where I was super picky about my novels, and if they weren't like epic all-time best book ever, I didn't like them, and it was just odd. But I think some other people didn't like the second one either, and I have no idea what anyone thought of the third one. So I'm probably going to keep going, but I'm proud of myself because I reread it and going through some books and getting rid of things and figuring out if they deserve to be on my shelf or not. And I did that with this one. I actually finished this like an hour ago. But I really like it, and I love, part of the reason I reread this too was that I love Atlantia, which is Ali Condi's one of her newest books. I think it's still a couple years old, but it's kind of about sirens and an underwater world, and it is fantastic. It was so good that it made me want to reread this to give it another shot. Okay, you guys, I read 7 books for July. Some of them were a little bit on the short side, and I did not get a chance to participate in Booktubeathon. I didn't feel like I could commit wholeheartedly with what's going on right now. I'm doing some manager work at my job, and I wanted to do it like all the way if I was going to do it, and it didn't look like that was going to happen. So I wasn't able to do that, but I still got some good reading in, and I'm not sure what I'm going to read in August. Originally, I had planned on reading the Immortal Instruments series because I haven't read that yet, but I've kind of been playing this game with myself as I find books at used bookstores that I need to complete certain series, then I read that series or book or whatever. And I don't have a complete series of Immortal Instruments yet, so I may or may not read that. But in general, I don't really like to do TBRs too much because I kind of think that it's too similar to the video too similar to the wrap-up videos, I guess. But stay tuned. I'm going to post some more videos soon, and I'll see you guys next time on the bright side. Bye!